So when you look at the Enneagram figure, you have a circle with all the different 9 types around it, and then you've got at the core of it a triangle that connects 3 types, and then you've got the other 6 types that are connected with lines. So when a lot of people look at the Enneagram figure, they tend to get rather confused. It's challenging enough just to understand your type, and then when you look at the figure and you see all these connecting lines, you start to wonder, what does that mean? So Grant, maybe you could spend a little bit of time sharing a bit more about what these connecting lines mean.
Sure. I think we can just talk about these 3 lines so that it doesn't throw off too much of confusion. Within the circle itself, you see 2 connecting lines. One line moves against the flow of the arrow, and the other line moves with the flow of the arrow. So the line that moves with the flow of the arrow is what we call the stress line, or sometimes what we call the line of disintegration. Or then we have the other one, which is the line of integration, which is what we call the relaxed line. So let's just make use of an example of maybe say a type 1. A type 1, there are 2 different movements. When a 1 is stressed, they tend to move to the 4, right? And that's when you see the line moving with the flow of the arrow. And when the 1 is relaxed, they tend to move to the 7, right? Now we won't talk about what that looks like, because if you'd like to learn a bit more about the Enneagram and what it looks like, please go to www.9pointsofview.com. So that's when we talk about the lines of integration and the lines of disintegration. Now what I'd like to add on is the other line along the circumference of the circle. So for each type, there are 2 wings, right? So on the left hand side and on the right side of each number. So for example, on the left hand side of the 1, we've got the 9 wing. And on the right side of the 1 of the circle, we've got the type 2 wing. And it starts to look quite differently in terms of how those behaviors manifest in one's life when the wing is pronounced. So again, we will not talk about how it looks like, because again, go back to the same site we said, www.9pointsofview.com, to learn about the wings and what each of those behaviors and how it manifests itself.
But when we talk about the wings, remember, not everybody uses their wings. You get some people who are very much in their core type. Right? So for example, you might be a type 5 and you find that you don't have any influence from your type 4 wing or from your 6 wing. Right? So it's okay, for some people not to use their wings at all. Then you get other people who tend to use one wing in particular. For example, as a 7, maybe you use more of your 8 wing. Right? Again, there's no right or wrong, but what we want to remind people, it's just like if you think about a bird. If you have a bird just flying with one wing, right, the other wing is injured, then they're not really going to get very far. But if you want to move further in your life and you want to have more balance, remember there's this hidden potential from both wings. So you don't just think about, okay, I have to be one wing or the other wing. It is also possible for you to use both wings because the potential is there. And that's going to give you balance and help move you forward.
That's true. We've seen in certain programs where the facilitators don't talk about the wings at all. And just based on our experiences coaching people, if you do start to look into the wings, you start to see quite a different dimension when someone is, say, for example, a type 7 with an 8 wing. Right? So if you look at type 7 with qualities such as optimism, high energy, enthusiasm, and then that person's got an 8 wing, then you start to see that added dimension of the 8 coming up, the assertiveness, of course, independence. The decision-making part. So you start to see a lot more assertive 7 than the usual 7 who's easygoing and calm. Right? So that dimension of the wing actually plays a big role if you take that into consideration.
And I think again here, sometimes there's this misuse of the Enneagram by certain teachers who tell you you can only be of a type wing. For example, you can only be a 1 with a 2 wing, or you can only be a 3 with a 4 wing, right? So again, just to remind us that that's part of our development where we have this potential, these qualities of the types from the left number or the right number. All right, so as we move along the circumference, remember your wing is the number on the right-hand side or the number on the left-hand side. And as you develop, you can choose to use both wings.
So what we've seen is your core does not quite change over time, but your wings tend to sometimes change over time. Right? So it's
it
not
can be
fixated.
based on the situation. So you might react differently based on that situation, using one wing or the other wing, or maybe both wings, or maybe no wings. So there's no right or wrong there.
Right.